In March 1988, the Safety Board observed a series of flight tests on the Beech 1900 designed to examine the airplane's flight characteristics when the CG is moved beyond the aft limit. The weight, balance, and other characteristics of Ryan Flight 103 approximated closely to the parameters of the test aircraft. The test employed water tanks, which by transferring water across the tanks allowed the CG of the airplane to be moved aft as far as 11 inches beyond the original limit. The original certification testing was conducted at 299 inches aft. In the test sequences, the airplane climbed to an altitude with the CG in normal range. Once at altitude, approximately 10,000 feet, a predetermined amount of water was transferred until the test CG of 7 inches aft of the aft limit in flight was obtained. Once takeoff was accomplished with the CG 1.5 inches after the aft limit, the landing was accomplished with the CG approximately 3.5 inches aft of the aft limit. Taxi tests were accomplished with the CG as much as 8 inches aft of the aft limit. The test showed that the static stability of the airplane deteriorated rapidly as the CG moved aft. Extending the flaps in the aft CG configuration caused static stability to deteriorate even further. With flaps up, the airplane's static stability was essentially neutral with a CG 7 inches aft of limit. Neutral static stability was obtained 20 degrees of flaps, approximately 3.5 inches after the aft limit. At a CG of 7 inches aft, with the flaps up in level flight, the degraded dynamic stability required constant pilot attention. At any CG aft of neutral point, the static stability of the airplane became negative, resulting in an unstable airplane. With flaps down, elevator travel limits may be reached. Maximum continuous power may require additional elevator travel for recovery. With the CG as much as 11 inches aft of the aft limit, the airplane could pitch up in spite of a full nose-down elevator application. After the flight test, the Beech Aircraft Corporation pilot who flew the test airplane stated that at CG 8 inches aft of limit, the nose wheel became very light and lifted off the ground if a bump was encountered. But the airplane was controllable during taxi. However, in cruise condition, with a CG of 7 inches aft of the limit, constant pilot input was required to maintain speed and altitude. With the flaps at 20 degrees and the CG 7 inches aft of the limit, they believed a safe landing could be possible. The pilot believed that the airplane could be taxied with a CG of 11 inches aft of the limit. For safety reasons, no flight tests were conducted with a CG more than 7 inches aft of the aft limit. The pilot believed that if very little or no flaps were extended, takeoffs would still be possible at CG 11 inches aft of the aft limit. Normal takeoff conditions were conducted with 10 degrees of flaps extended. And with the flaps extended, the pilot stated that controllability of the airplane was very dependent on CG. If the flaps were extended 35 degrees, with the CG at 11 inches aft of limit, the pilot and Beech performance engineers believed that it would not have been possible to control the airplane. This would have been during landing, and in this situation, an encounter with turbulence, a power change, and a sudden control input could upset the airplane to a condition where there would be no elevator control available with which to effect the recovery. Information from the certification test to approve the operation of the Beech 1900 in icing conditions indicated that no significant decrease in flight controllability or handling characteristics of the airplane with an accumulation of 1 to 1.5 inches of ice on its leading edges. In addition, within the normal CG range, variations in the airplane's pitch and controllability or changes with the stall characteristics with ice accumulations as much as 1/2 to 2 inches were minimal. Further, within the normal CG range, no noticeable change in stall characteristics, that's flaps up or down, resulted from ice accumulation varying from 1/2 inch to 2 inches.